Hey there, guys. So, this episode is one that my guest, sort of co host, I guess is the word I always use, has been very, very adamant about doing. And I hope you enjoy. It goes into some weird places at times. But I hope you enjoy this episode because I think this is a very interesting one and one that I had a lot of fun recording. So, I hope you enjoy today's episode. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of At the Movies with William Fletcher. As per usual, I am your host, William Fletcher, and I am joined once again by, I'm gonna say co-host, Mr. Harry Jobson again for
Yeah, what's
another episode.
up?
And this is an episode that Harry has been very, very adamant about doing for a long time on the Back to the Future trilogy, and it should stay a trilogy. I want to make that clear. It should be a trilogy forever, and let's never make any more. Okay, because I'm worried. I'm worried that when Robert Zemeckis and Bob Gale die, they'll just reboot it or something, and I don't want that to happen because that would be very
Oh,
depressing.
almost as if what happened with SpongeBob and Steve Gillenberg. Like it actually happened though. He had a bunch of things that's like I don't want this to happen. And then as soon as he
Yeah, I
passed
think I've
away,
read that
it's
about
almost as
Spon.
if
Yeah,
he's like I don't want to ever show them as little kids, or whatever.
yeah,
And yeah, the whole thing is like they released a whole series or movie about them being children. But yeah, I actually before we touch on the films themselves, I know I
yeah.
understand on the internet right now. There's a really popular sort of fan wanting, is it? Yeah, there's a lot of sort of fan ideas,
Cast
fan theories
and
that they want.
casting and stuff.
Yeah, of if they were to reboot it because they rebooted
Why?
Ghostbusters, and I'm like the whole. I
I don't.
understand that
Ghostbusters isn't the
2015.
same thing though.
I understand that 2015 was the future, and that is now 8 years ago, which is mind blowing.
That is
Um,
insane. It's so
but
depressing.
But I understand that was supposed to be the future, and yeah, it was a bit dated, obviously because it's the 80s. But
Yeah, yeah.
uh, like I don't see the need for a reboot.
That's the
Firstly,
thing.
and then they're like, oh, you could do Tom Holland and Robert Downey Jr. Like this is what they would look like and stuff, and I'm like,
Come on, guys.
no, that's disrespectful to like Christopher Lloyd and Michael J. Fox. Firstly,
Yeah, you can't do that.
who are Doc Brown and
Yeah,
Marty.
exactly. It is Doc and Mart. You can't. There is never going to be another Doc and Marty. Like you just can't replace them. They're
There's a Rick and
irreplaceable.
Morty, but there's a
But that's
um,
yeah, that's different. So
which is a striking resemblance. But
yeah, I mean that's the point. I think Rick and Morty
yeah,
is a
yeah,
parody of Doc and it was Justin Roiland did a parody and then that became a show. So but yeah, Back to the Future trilogy. I mean, for those listening, you can't see it, but I've got a poster of the first film in my room, and I've also got a Marty McFly action figure on my desk. So it's safe to say I'm a fairly big fan of these films, and Harry's also a very big fan, as he wanted to talk about them. So
possibly
um,
the best non superhero trilogy. The best non widest cinematic universe trilogy,
mm,
and
all
because
right,
then that sort of scrubs out Star Wars and stuff as well.
yeah,
But
I'd.
oh,
Mhm. I'd put Back to the Future as one of the best trilogies ever. I'm trying to think of I think I prefer the original Star Wars trilogy. I prefer the Evil Dead trilogy, and I mean this one isn't technically a trilogy, but the Cornetto trilogy I prefer more. But that's just they're not
yeah,
sequels; they're
that's sort
just
of
spiritually
that's
connected.
like a yeah.
But I'd say Back to the Future trilogy is probably my third favorite. Second or third favorite behind Star Wars, definitely, and then it's between that and Evil Dead, the Evil Dead trilogy for second place. But yeah, I really love these movies. This is the first time I've watched them in about. The last time I remember watching any of these was I rewatched the first one back in 2019, so a pre-COVID era, when I was overseas in Germany. I remember rewatching it then. For some reason, I don't know why. Um, And then I don't remember the last time I rewatched part 2 and part 3. Um, but I think that says that. I mean, I do think the first one is like the best one. I think we'd all agree that it's the best one.
Well, I think the first one is the best, and I think the second one's the worst.
Oh,
And
okay.
and
Well, that's
I
gonna
because
be
I adore the third one, but and
alrighty.
we'll get into why I
Well,
think
we'll
the
get
second
into
one is
why
the
that because
worst
I
when we get
disagree with
there.
you on which of the two sequels is weaker, but we'll get into that momentarily. But to talk about the first one, I think this is like I don't care. I don't think this is hyperbolic when I say this is like one of the most perfectly made films ever. Like in terms of writing, it is maybe I don't know. It's one of, I would say, the best written films ever made.
And
Like,
yeah, pay our dues to the writing at not only the writing crew, but also the production team. Michael J. Fox, wasn't it that he was like, he would wake up, go shoot his TV show, then after that he'd
yeah.
come and shoot scenes for Back to the Future, and then
Yeah.
he would get maybe 4 hours of sleep, and then he'd
Yeah.
have to do it
So
again.
for those who are unaware, they wanted Michael J. Fox when they were like initially casting. They wanted him as Marty McFly, and he wasn't available because he was doing a TV show at the time called Family Ties, Family Matters, Family something.
Family something, yeah. Hold
It's
up, let me say.
I'm looking it up now because I actually don't remember. It's Family something. Family Ties. It was Family Ties he
Yeah,
was in.
I thought that was a
And so he was
Kendrick song. No.
and he was in that from 1982 to 1989. And so the filmmakers they wanted Michael J. Fox in the role, but he was unavailable because he had a contract with Family Ties that he like couldn't get out of, basically. So they cast Eric Stoltz, who was in Mask, or is he in? He was in The Mask,
Uh,
or was it Son of Ghost? He
yeah,
was in.
I believe he was in. He does have a very Michael J. Fox look to him. To be fair,
He does, yeah. In
like,
the behind the
and he would have
scenes,
worked. I've seen a lot of like behind the scenes production photos. He was in Mask, but not The Mask, just
he was not. Yeah,
Mask. He was
and he
also
was
in
also in
Pulp Fiction.
Pulp Fiction. Yeah, that was the other. That's the thing I really know him from because I've never seen The Mask. Actually, I've seen Pulp Fiction, and he's in Pulp Fiction. But yeah, they shot I think about 6 weeks worth of film with him, and they were just like, "This isn't working," and I don't think they've ever said why he didn't work. I think they've just been like he was not working, so they fired him after
Yeah,
doing
there were
about
production disagreements as well. I've
yeah
heard, but
yeah.
yeah.
But after 6 weeks, like that is 6 weeks of footage you basically can't use. That's like 6 weeks of stuff you have to throw out basically, which is insane because that just doesn't happen now. Like the only recent example I can think of would be like Solo, a Star Wars story when they fired Chris Miller and Phil Lord from Solo, and they brought Ron Howard on, and they just reshot most of their stuff. Like that is insane. You just don't see that
Yeah, I mean,
because
even
it
the
is very
whole drama
expensive.
with Ezra Miller nowadays and the Flash film.
Yeah,
There's a reason
exactly.
that they just released the Flash film how it is. Obviously with a lot of heavy editing, but
Yeah,
um
but I think
you
because he's the
can't
protagonist as
reshoot,
well.
yeah.
Is Ezra Miller's the
And
protagonist?
but
Terrence
not
Stamp.
only he's like five of the protagonists because there's supposed to be multiple Flashes.
Yeah, there's
So
like at least two versions of Flash we see in that. At least two. So
yeah.
um, but
Big
yeah,
task
they
for the film to even get made. It was so close to not even being made.
yeah that would have been such a missed opportunity. But yeah, so Michael J. They eventually negotiate as Harry was saying before. Then they negotiated it so Michael J. Fox would film during the day on Family Ties, then he'd have like a nap and be driven to set. He would shoot at night for how many hours? He'd have to be like carried home because he was just so tired and completely out of it. And then he'd just go back and he'd just do that every day for several weeks, except for weekends when they would be able to shoot the exteriors, like the outside shots when he's walking through Hill Valley and that they shot
Yeah.
the exteriors on weekends because that's during the day and you need him there during the day, um which must have been like
Just
I can't imagine what that'd be
yeah,
like. You
just
film
so
all day on a
draining.
TV show, then you try and have a nap, then you shoot for however many hours at night, and you have like a couple hours sleep. Like it is not that is not healthy. That is
Yeah, that wouldn't
so
fly today.
no. They would make it. That would just not pass at all. But this was the mid '80s, so it doesn't matter. But yeah, I guess since we're talking about Michael J. Fox, I like Michael J. Fox in stuff. I really like
Oh
him in these movies.
yeah.
Yeah, I think he's a really likable presence, and he just yeah, you really feel for him,
No one
and
ever
it.
told me he was Stuart Little, by the way, which is just the rudest shock. I remember
Yeah,
watching
I
Stuart
completely
Little being
forgot he
like,
was
"That's
Stuart
Marty
Little.
McFly." Yeah, dude, that's the one thing I remember him. Like, it's obvious. It's not the one thing. It's Back to the Future, and then Stuart Little, and he was also in that Teen Wolf movie. But
He was in Teen Wolf, and then after Back to the Future, he was in The Frighteners, which is a Peter Jackson film. He was in like I think a couple episodes of Scrubs, certainly one episode at least of Scrubs,
he was
and
in that Atlantis movie.
yeah, and he's retired now because Parkinson's is, you know, a pain in the ass, which is just. And I saw an interview with him recently where he was like, "Yeah, I'm not gonna live to 80."
Oh, I was just gonna be yeah. There's a lot of people that wanted to have it renamed from Parkinson's to Michael J. Fox disease permanently. I know a lot of people who refer it to that, and I believe like yeah, he like apparently one of the nicest guys ever, salt of the earth, complete like, and
Yeah,
you couldn't
no,
imagine this film. You can see shots where it has the like other actor
Eric Stoltz,
and
yeah.
yeah Stoltz, and he looks too emo. Does that make like
Yeah, no,
too
I've seen
like
he's
where
wearing like
are
black
you?
coat. He's wearing like black clothes and stuff, and that just doesn't look right. I think
And the
Marty
way
with
his
the
hair curls down, yeah.
yeah, but Marty's got like a jean jacket with the life preserver, which is like an iconic costume. Like it is like I'm just looking at the action figure I've got on my desk. He's got like a plaid shirt. Well, he's got like a red shirt, then like a plaid shirt, long sleeve shirt over it, then a jean jacket, and then a life preserver with jeans and sweet Nike shoes, by the way. Which on this action figure they couldn't license Nike, so it's just a red line on the shoes.
Yeah.
Because that I mean that's just most stuff with like licensed stuff, but like that's just like basic clothing, but it is so iconic. Like you see someone wearing that costume and like, oh, that is Marty McFly, you know. And I mean, you know, he's got the calculator watch or like the digital watch, what he has on his wrist, you know.
Yeah.
Um, and I really think Michael J. Fox in all of these films, I think does a really good job. He brings a real likability, and I think I've heard stuff that maybe that's why Eric Stoltz wasn't working either. He wasn't likable enough in the role.
Yeah, which makes sense.
He definitely doesn't look like if you put up Eric Stoltz in Back to the Future and Michael J. Fox, I'd be like, oh, Michael J. Fox seems like a much more likable person, yeah. And I think he brings a lot of earnestness to it, and he's just really yeah, he's really likable, and I think that's the key is he's a likable protagonist, you know, and I think I yeah, no, I really think Marty works as a character, and I mean his sort of the other person with him is Doc Brown, played by Christopher Lloyd, who again Christopher Lloyd is an actor who I just like seeing in things because he's a very out there screen presence, but I think that works.
Yeah, no, I agree. We this you got to give the entire cast their flowers because they even the bloke
Oh, it's a wonderful
who
cast. Yeah,
plays
no.
Biff Tannen
Oh,
like
dude,
makes you
Tom F.
hate
Wilson.
Biff Tannen. Like
But
it
Biff
is
is so likable as well. Like he's so funny that he's just like endlessly engaging, which is the weird thing. Like Biff is somehow you like watching him, even though he's a at times very despicable person. All the
yeah.
Biffs and Griff in the future as well, technically. And
And
Mad
yeah,
Dog.
it works. That also plays into the reason of my rankings. But
Yeah.
I
Um,
think yeah, like getting into the first film. I mean,
mm,
you sort of start the film with the what? I'm 15 minutes late to class. Like, oh, I love it.
dude,
I
the
love
opening
it.
scene is like great. I
It's
think
so camp.
to talk about the script, we see like a newscast, and she's like, "Some plutonium has been stolen," and like a couple minutes later, we just see the crate of plutonium, and like that is it is such an effective example of setup and payoff. You see a thing, and then like a little bit later, that thing is brought back and paid off, which I think is great writing. I know some would probably dismiss it as very predictable, lazy writing, but I'm like, no, I think it's fine. I think it works actually. I think
Yeah.
like yeah, the opening scene of Back to the Future is great. Just just a very wonderful long take. There's all these clocks, and there's like this toaster with really burnt toast in it. By the way, like Jesus Christ, like how long is
Yeah.
that?
Oh yeah.
And all of Einstein's like food that's been poured into the bowl that's just piling up, which pet food makes me is so gross. I just like imagine like it just yeah, it's awful. But
Oh
and
yeah.
then yeah, I love that we don't see Marty's face until after he's blown up the amp. Like it's like, oh, what's wrong with? And then he like lifts the shades, and that's when we see Marty finally for the first time. I think that's a really nice way of to talk about the cast. I think overall the cast is great. I really like. I mean, yeah, as we mentioned, Michael J. Fox and Christopher Lloyd. I think yeah, Tom F. Wilson, who plays Biff in all the variants, and Griff and um, Mad Dog Tannen, all of them. I think he does a really great job having to play, and I mean that's with all the cast. Michael J. Fox plays his Seamus McFly, and he plays um his daughter, which is so weird.
Yeah.
That's really weird, and I feel like that. I don't. She could have just been played by Marty's
Okay.
girlfriend, the act. That would have been, I feel like,
Yeah.
less weird. And he also plays his son as well. You've got Leah Thompson plays his mum, and then plays his great grandmother, the in the Old West. Um, yeah, I think it's a really good. And it's very interesting. And you know what is interesting that I didn't learn about the films until I knew it before these films, but I learned it at a later point. That the actress who plays Jennifer, who Marty's girlfriend in the film, is a different actress. I
Oh
didn't
yeah.
even notice. I did not
Yeah,
even
you
notice
don't
when I was
really
younger.
notice. I didn't notice when I was younger either. It wasn't until a couple of years ago where I was watching. I'm like, that's a different bird. That's a different lady. Like,
Yeah,
I remember watching it and thinking, oh my god. There was
and
some problem with the first chick, although I do think I prefer. I mean, I don't know. It's
I think I prefer the first actress who plays Jennifer. I think well, first of all, I think she's more attractive, but that's just me. But
but
I think
not that that matters. But yeah,
no, but I just had no. I think it. I don't know. I think the second Jennifer plays it a bit too. I don't know. I feel like the first Jennifer's a bit more subtle with it, and I think that works. I
the
don't
first
think.
Jennifer felt like a character that would be in the world. The second
Yeah,
Jennifer felt like
a
a
cartoon
character that
character.
was. It felt like
Yeah,
an
a bit of a
actor
caricature.
playing a character trying to be. It felt like they were trying to be in the film more. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like,
No, yeah, I get what you're saying. Yeah. Well, apparently, and so apparently, the reason the first actress left is because her mum was sick, had cancer, I believe. So she sort of gave up. She could either act in a film or she could spend the last moments with her mum before she died.
which is an easy
Um,
choice.
it's a very easy choice. Yeah.
Back to the Future won one Oscar for sound effect editing.
Wait, it won an Oscar or it was nominated for?
It won. It was nominated for 3 or 4, but it only won in sound effects
Ah.
editing.
I mean, I think that yeah, to go to I think the sound design. I think like when the DeLorean like travels through time is
Oh,
great.
it's amazing.
The lines of fire, which is just
They look
yeah,
so
it's
stupid.
kiss.
Yeah, they look so dumb because you can
No,
so
I
clearly
think
see
it's
that they're edited in. Like it clips over his foot. I understand the budget was even not amazing for nowadays standards. 50 million, yeah, you can make a film on that, but like it's not an insane amount of money to make a film on, especially something that requires that much visual effects.
Yeah, so Back to the Future got 4 Oscar nominations. Yeah, one for sound effects editing. Was also nominated for Best Original Screenplay, Best Sound, and Best Original Song.
Yeah, no, that sounds about right.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, "The Power of Love" is a pretty good song. I must admit. I think the music is. I mean, the score is fantastic. Like
There
the
are parts of the
main.
film which I just think are so stupid when it comes to the music. We're just gonna skip to the end. The whole what is supposed to be Marvin Berry, Chuck Berry's cousin or something,
Oh yeah,
and
yeah.
it's like, yo, I think I got that new sound you're looking for, and I'm like, ah, shut up. Like, we
Yeah.
get it,
I mean,
but
I feel
like,
like that's. I mean, I guess it's sort of to some could be like, well, that's a bit iffy because it's a white man teaching a black man, like a
yeah.
black, which I
No,
guess
but
is a
at that
fair
time,
point.
I
But
think it was just supposed to be
I,
like,
I mean, yeah, it's I definitely don't take like a race. I don't think it was a race related thing. I think it was just, hey, wouldn't this be cool if?
yeah, it was
Yeah,
just supposed to be an Easter egg, but
and I think that's what the film is doing for most of it. It's just Um, what does Almighty? He gets called Calvin Klein because his mum looks at his underwear, which is such an invasion of privacy. By the way, that is so very. But I mean, yeah, Leah
flee.
Tom.
Sorry, flee from, and I'm doing this again. Flee from, the Red Hot Chili Peppers, one of the greatest bassists of all time. He's in this
Yeah,
movie. He's also
I,
in Baby Driver and Babylon and Inside Out. What?
I'm not familiar with Red Hot Chili Peppers, so I wish.
Ah,
Oh, is he? Oh, he's Needle. Oh,
yeah,
he's the guy
Needles. Yeah,
who. He goads Marty into. He's got a giant gap in his teeth, dude. Holy fuck.
yeah,
I
but
mean,
he's one of the greatest bassists ever, dude.
I didn't even. I just thought he was an actor. Yeah, he's in Babylon.
I
That's
this is insane to me. I'm finding out so much new information. Um, but
um.
yeah, like, continue. Sorry.
Yeah. No, I think the film. Yeah. Oh, sorry. Fucking hell. Um. I really like that. I just to talk about the first one. I think it is one of the best films ever made. And I don't even mean like one of my favorite films. I just mean it is one of the best to have ever been made.
Oh,
I don't.
objectively.
I don't think you could like if you try and fault it, it's just you being nitpicky, or it's just like I saw an interview with Quentin Tarantino, everybody's favorite, where he was asked like, what does he think are like perfect movies, and I know he threw Back to the Future up there as one, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, which is such a bizarre choice. I think he said Jaws, and he was like, they might not be your cup of tea, but they are like objectively perfect. Like you can't fault
Yeah.
them. Oh,
I
The
can fault
Exorcist, you
Back to the
said.
Future. No, I can fault Back to the Future on one thing, and I know it is nitpicky. Don't get me wrong.
The first
And
one,
all three, or
okay.
any
Okay.
film that deals with time travel, like, it is such a hard concept to explain to an audience. But I thought Avengers Endgame did it really well.
I think.
Whereas,
I
like,
mean, yeah. I
this,
guess since
yeah,
we're talking about it, yeah, since we're talking about time travel, but I really love time travel as like a concept and as like a type, stuff
oh
like
yeah,
Groundhog Day is a great film. I love the Terminator films. I love all these. I love all these films, and I think Back to the which parts of Back to the Future's time travel do you think like doesn't work?
I think
Because I'm
the whole
interested
way
in.
the whole like the whole way they explain, like, their photo fading, for example, like, doesn't make any sense. The fact that he can go back in time and affect his new future, like, the whole premise of the second movie, I just disagree with. But I think that's more like there's no real way, like, scientific way to explain it. Like, oh, there's no real scientific way that I know of. But the way they do it in Avengers Endgame is like you can't affect your future by affecting your past if you go back in time because your old past now becomes your new future. So you can't affect
Yeah,
the future, which you can't affect your past by your future, is what they're
yeah.
saying. And I'm like, and that's the whole premise of like the 3 films. Oh, the 2 films.
I mean, they do go out of their way to explain it. I think in the first one you can't really fault the time travel in the first one. I think it's fairly like clear cut.
It's a good premise. Like, yeah, I have to save myself and my siblings, so I got to make sure my parents get together.
Yeah,
I
I think
also
the
got to try.
first one works. I don't think you can really, because he goes back and he alters the past, so he's got to fix it so his future stays the same, and that also then in turn makes he alters his future, which is very kind of interesting because the Marty's family that we see at the end of the first film, they're just family that he doesn't know. Like they're just versions of his family he has never met
Yeah,
before, which is
it's
very
like, why would that picture be the same if they had a
yeah.
completely different life? But
Yeah.
also, yeah,
Hmm.
it makes yeah. Does this family also? Yeah, no. It's like, does this family have memories with now Marty that Marty doesn't have with them? Like, was there a different? Like, what? You know what I mean? Does that make sense? Because Marty
No, I
wasn't
get
there
what
for
you're
any of that. He
saying.
was traveling through time.
Yeah, I guess they have memories of a Marty.
Yeah.
It's just not the Marty we know.
I know that this is like a real bad rabbit hole, and it happens anytime anyone discusses Back to the Future ever. But it's like it is its biggest issue, but also one of its
I mean, it's
best
just it's
qualities.
discussing time travel in general. I just we didn't even touch on Crispin Glover, who plays Marty's dad, who I think is hysterical in this. I think Crispin
Oh
Glover
yeah,
is great in
George.
it. He's so. It should be a performance I don't like because it's just so out there, but it's so funny. Like when he's just laughing at a joke, he's like, he's just so like,
Yeah,
it's great. I love
so
it. And then,
overtly. Yeah, he's so cartoonish.
but I think it's fine. I think it
Yeah,
works.
no,
I
it
mean,
fits
Doc is
really
also,
well.
and I just love, yeah, when we see Faye and George in the past, and he's still the same. He is not he's still the same George, and like he's like one of the first scenes we see of him is him looking in a woman's window,
Yeah,
which is, and I'm just like, bruh. And it's the
yeah.
classic, binoculars through the window, like he's in a
Hiding in
tree,
a tree. Yeah, what? Oh, that's so
and I'm like,
etched.
dude, like the only way it could be more cliched if he was like in like a house, or if he's looking, or he could pull like a Spider-Man where he's just next door, like that's the
Yeah,
first Spider-Man with it. But I
yeah,
think
yeah.
um, I really like George McFly in this. I think Crispin Glover does a really great job, and I think he's hysterical in this. He's probably my favorite part of the first film. This is
I
my
don't
favorite
know,
performance.
dude. Doc, I can't go past Doc. Yeah, talking
No,
favorite parts of the first film. Doc, like, also almost instantly trusting Marty, like not, and then Marty just being like, "You hit your head on the toilet, like
yeah,
the sink or something," and then he's like, "And that's
yeah,
when you came up with the flux capacitor," and Doc's like,
yeah.
"Oh, I am a genius." Like,
Yeah, I do love that moment where he's like, "Who's the president in 1985?" And Marty's like, "Ronald Reagan." He's like, "The
"Duh,
actor?"
what?
And I'm like, "Yeah." And I never knew that Ronald Reagan used to be an actor.
You
I had
didn't know
heard,
that? Oh,
I knew it. I've known it for a while, but when I first watched it, I didn't get it.
yeah,
And apparently Ronald Reagan loved that part so much that he had the projectionist be like, no, replay that bit because I really liked it, like because he was the president and he
yeah,
could get them to do what they wanted, and I was like, yeah, and I think the scene
yeah.
where Doc gets killed, that's what I was going to talk
Oh,
about
yeah,
because
that's a
we're just
bit.
sort of jumping around, but in my memory of that scene, it was far more, it was much more like a horror film. when, so it would be the how I imagined the scene. I don't know how I got this, but my memory of the scene was for some reason Doc and Marty they were like talking about something, and Marty would be, and we'd be like, the camera would be focused on Marty, and Doc would say something, and he would just stop talking, and then Marty would say a line, and he'd look over, and had just been like shot, and it was just like silence, and he'd just like fallen and died. I had no memory that it was far bigger. It's fucking Libby's mowing him down with a machine gun. I was like,
Yeah, it's
Jesus
just like,
Christ.
yeah. Oh,
And I think
it's so
I,
yeah.
I really like that, and I mean the the DeLorean. We haven't even touched on how iconic the DeLorean is, despite being from
A
every
terrible
heard a
car.
terrible fucking car. Like
It
it
is a
is,
terrible car.
but
It's
and for
iconic, and
some
people
reason
would pay hundreds of thousands of dollars.
I always wanted one because I thought, wouldn't that be cool if I had a DeLorean? And then I learned that, oh no, this is actually a really terrible car. Like, if you want to own a DeLorean, you have to buy two, just so there's enough spare parts to fix one of them. Like,
Yeah, yeah. No, DeLoreans are genuinely like terrible automotive vehicles. Like even just for comfort, but they look really cool.
they look really cool, yeah. And
Which was the
they
aesthetic they
originally,
were going for, I
yeah,
guess.
and they, well, because originally they wanted to have like it be like a fridge or something instead of a car, and they were like, and then they realized, oh no, kids are gonna like lock themselves in a fridge after
What about
watching
a
this
hot
movie.
tub?
I've never seen Hot Tub Time Machine.
Yeah,
It seems pretty bad though, to be honest. Like,
yeah, yeah. It's a movie.
but yeah, they originally were gonna have it. Which, by the way, the original title for Back to the Future, the head of like who owns Back to the Future? Is it
Warner
Universal
Bros.
or yeah,
Is
the
it
head
Warner
of?
Bros?
I thought it was Universal. Let me
That
look at my
feels Warner Bros. Feels right though.
it says Universal on my poster here.
Oh well then it's Universal.
And Amblin, which is Spielberg's because Spielberg was a producer on this film as well.
Yeah, he funded it. Yeah.
Yeah. And the head of Universal at the time wanted to name it like Spaceman from Pluto to tie into like the comic the kids reading. And then I think it was Spielberg is like, no, that is a terrible name.
Yeah.
Because I think they pitched the title Back to the Future to like the head of Universal, and he, for some reason, was like, people aren't gonna watch a film with the word future in it. What the fuck? And
Yeah.
I'm like, what are you talking about? I think people would want to see like, oh, it's about the future. Except it's really not about the future. It's about the past.
The past. Yeah.
And again, just talking like about the behind the scenes stuff. When they were shooting Back to the Future, they filmed all the stuff in the 50s first, and then they like aged it up for the 80s, which just seems like a good
Yeah.
idea. And then because they built like the whole set on like a big studio at, I don't know, I guess Universal. Yeah.
Yeah.
They built a whole set, and they did it for the 2015 version as well. Like they built Hill Valley and that, which is just crazy because
Very impressive.
it's like a set, but it feels real.
Yeah,
Like
it
it
does
feels
feel like
like
a real play.
it feels tangible, and like something like Avatar, right? It clear like you can't engage with it because it's just all CGI.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like now maybe they would CGI Hill Valley a bit more instead of building sets, because I guess it's easier to do with CGI and, underpay workers and just push them to the bone just to get a movie out so it looks like shit anyway.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think there's just so many great scenes in Back to the Future. I love the bit where Marty invents skateboards in the 50s and he gets chased by Biff and
He
stuff.
invents skateboards.
Oh, dude, that's such a great scene, and again, just the music as well is just like the score, and I also really like the songs from Huey Lewis in the News.
Yeah, I
which
think the
every
newest
time,
stuff is pretty derivative. Yeah,
every time I hear Huey Lewis in the News, I'm just like, it's just Patrick Bateman. Which, to be fair, it's like one of the best scenes in American Psycho is when he's talking about Huey Lewis and he fucking murders Jared Leto. Which, isn't that what we all want to do? Scene that I don't think is aged well, and it's the scene where Biff is in the car with Marty's mum, with Lorraine.
Yeah, but everyone knows, like,
and I mean,
it is
everyone
supposed to be
talks about it.
confrontingly uncomfortable.
Yeah, but I don't know if it's implied. Like, I take it as an implied, like, I don't want to say the word because it's very tricky. But like
Essay, like
essay, yes. But I think I don't think it would have been written like that in the 80s. I don't know.
yeah,
I don't know if they would have done that in the 80s. I
yeah,
feel like
again, the 80s. It was the 80s,
it was
but
the
that is
80s.
it's really
It
terrible.
definitely plays
Like
differently though. Yeah.
it plays differently now. Now it's much more terrifying. Like
Oh,
which
it's
also makes the whole
yeah.
justification of like George so much sweeter. But also the whole like he saved
Mm.
her, so now she's in love with him is also a bit
I
like
mean, in I think it's part two. I mean, Biff is clearly, as we see in the film, very handsy with Lorraine. He's like sitting behind, like trying to hold her while she's at like a table. In the second one, he's trying to look under
it's
her
really
dress,
uncomfortable.
and
Yeah,
I'm
like
like, dude,
Biff is supposed to hate Biff.
yeah, but he's so funny as well. So it's so weird because he's really funny at times, but he's a really awful person, which is so bizarre.
And I
Like,
under yeah, and the one thing on Biff, we should probably this would be a really good tie into the second film.
yeah,
Um, but like the whole trope of the three films, right? In each three
yeah.
films, there's very there's one very common theme, and that's that nobody calls Marty chicken. That is the stupidest
You
thing
cut out a
you
bit
could have.
there.
That is that
You cut out.
nobody calls Marty chicken.
I think
It's
there's
so
no
stupid because you could avoid
introduction of that
so
in the
much
first one.
conflict.
Yeah.
You
There's
could
none
you
of
could
that.
avoid so much conflict by just like someone calls him a chicken and then he goes, okay.
I
Like,
mean, that's the
okay.
point, though. He's meant to get over it, but it's not set up in the first one at all because they weren't planning to do another one. They've said before
Yeah.
they were like, it's gonna be a one and done. They're just like, he's gonna go to the future and that's gonna be the end, and that's fine. And then it became a big deal and like, we need to make two more of these.
So progressive
Yeah,
docs are making it run on like renewable. Like
renewables. I know, right?
yeah, absolute like literally solving the world's garbage problem.
I
Minimal
know, right?
pollution. Like
Yeah,
absolute
making
W
plutonium
for doc.
unnecessary.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's great.
But not only
Just
that,
before
clearing
we
up the rubbish, yeah.
exactly, it just gets rid of all the rubbish as well. There's not going to be fields of just rubbish piles everywhere. It's great. Before we move on to the second one, I just want to talk about like when Marnie goes back to the future. I think that is one of the most. Well, I was just rewatching it, and I'm like, I know he goes back, but like, I was like still just getting excited, like, come on, Doc, connect the bits, you bastard. I was just like, yeah.
Oh
And
yeah.
it's such a well plotted, it's such a well crafted scene, and
Every
of
time I
course,
watch that scene, I think, he's going to there's not going to be a problem this time, and there's the same problem every time, and I'm like, how does this keep
I
happening?
know.
Oh yeah, it's written that way.
Yeah, but I think that's such a testament to good filmmaking, where like you know what's coming, but you still get into it. Like, just come on, just do it, come on. It's great. I love it. And the DeLorean fucking dying just before he goes. I'm like, oh no, come on, buddy, just
Yeah.
bang the fucking wheel, and then it's brilliant. It's brilliant. I love it. It's yeah, Back to the Future, the first one of my all-time favorite films. It's an easy 10 out of 10. I love it to bits. It is
Oh,
fucking amazing. But yeah, I mean, yeah, Back to the Future 1, perfect. You literally cannot fault it.
I say 10 out of
Like,
10. It's a 10 out of 10.
yeah. Like, stuff hasn't aged well, but I don't think that's fair to, like, dock a film's, like, your opinion on a film. Alright, so yeah, part two. Anyway, yeah, you, at the beginning of this, you said part two was your least favorite of the three, and I would like to hear, like, what doesn't work, because I was looking at Rotten Tomatoes, and part two has a 63%, which is very harsh, but I want to hear why you don't like it.
It's not that I don't like it. I still think it's like a solid 8. I just
Right,
think that,
but it's
but
your least
yeah,
favorite.
it's my least favorite in comparison to the third one because I love the third one. A third one's so camp. It's so like it's just fun in the West. Does that make sense? Like it's
I
different
mean,
from the other
yeah,
two.
part
It
two is
like,
so depressing. It
but
is
part two is like
so.
the whole the almanac, I understand, but the Biff Tannen world, like Biff world, basically Biff's future
Oh, where he's
is
Donald
my
Trump.
that whole Biff Trump basically.
Yeah.
I just cannot stand that whole part of the movie. Like I'll skim through it. The whole like
Really?
George's dad being dead and everything like. It's just not what I watch those movies for. I like seeing the future bits of Back to the Future too, but
Mhm.
the when you get into like the past with the Biff present, yeah.
Yeah.
That being said, some of the best bits of the whole trilogy are in Back to the Future too. You've got like the 2015, which was such a big thing in 2015.
Oh, dude,
But
I remember this happened at my final year of primary school, and we were just in class, and our teacher was like, "Yo, it's Back to the Future Day," and I'm trying to remember if I watched Back to the Future or not.
yeah, it was such a big like I mean, our school did it. It was such a big thing. Oh my god, I was still in primary school in 2015.
I know, but yeah,
Yeah.
the future. I mean, that's definitely the most fun stuff. Jaws 19, fucking,
Yeah, yeah.
they would,
But like the 3D
hoverboards.
stuff, hoverboards is still the most disappointing part of my life. The fact that hoverboards don't exist yet really has
Well,
ruined
technically
my world.
do, but they're not really.
No,
They're
but
not
they're like
freaking
if they're
hoverboard.
gonna be liquid, they're gonna be liquid nitrogen cooled,
There's,
like,
they have to
and they
be
can only
off the
last them.
ground.
Yeah, but the whole thing is like when you really think about it, hoverboard kind of useless. Like, what you don't trip over a rock, and that's about it. Like, there's no reason for it to
You
hover
can't even
really.
go
So,
across water in the
yeah, it's the
in the
same with
film.
hover cars. Like, I remember thinking, oh, the future, we're gonna have hover cars because there's gonna be massive magnets under the ground, and we're gonna
Mm,
have like under every road is gonna be a really big magnet that's gonna like allow for hoverboards and hover bikes. And I'm like, there's
yeah,
no reason for it to hover. There is literally besides aesthetics, like and like yeah,
yeah,
again, maybe not falling on the occasional rock, like just I don't the whole hover business. Like I get flying cars, but that's a different thing. And we
yeah,
have those.
exactly.
So we have personal hovercraft. Like you can buy them. They're just really
Mm,
expensive and very
yeah,
niche.
yeah.
Um,
I
but like
mean,
yeah,
AI is definitely taking a much bigger role in things. They might even start writing films now, which is so concerning that
yeah,
AI can just write movies, just make screenwriters not necessary, which is, and I mean, there's that big Writers Guild strike, which is happening as we're recording. But yeah, the future. I mean, yeah, no, it looks pretty interesting. You just get like Pepsi, but I've got to ask: do you prefer Pepsi or Coke? We got to settle this right now. Which do you
like
prefer?
plain
Yes,
or
just
just
regular
like
Pepsi, regular Coke. Which do you go for?
regular Coke. Like
Oh, fucking
it
hell.
depends. It depends on what you're eating it with. I'm not gonna have. I'm not gonna have KFC with Coke. KFC is strictly. I think if I'm eating chicken, it's Pepsi. But if I'm eating like pizza or chips or fish and chips, it's like a Coke. Coke is like. But we were a Coke household, and not that type
Nah,
of Coke
my family
household. We were
we're a Pepsi household. We're
my
Pepsi all the
house.
way.
Yeah. That being said, I know like my parents like an occasional Pepsi, like because Pepsi's only sold at KFC. Now, whenever I have KFC, I'm like, I couldn't have Coke. That would be sacrilegious. I
Yeah,
really like Pepsi Max. I maybe like Pepsi Max more than I like normal Coke, but I'm beginning to like Coke no sugar more than I like normal Coke.
but yeah, Back to the Future Part Two. I think it's yeah. I think Back to the Future Part Two always used to be my favorite, which is interesting. And I don't think that anymore because it is the weakest. Well, no, it's not as good as the first one. I think it is. The
Are you
sequels
gonna?
aren't as good.
I think that there's not a lot to talk about the second one, really. I mean, you can mention all the Bith Future stuff in the almanac, but it definitely feels like
It goes back to
oh,
the
this one
first film
made
a
a lot of
lot.
money. The first one made a lot of money. Let's make a second one. But
Yeah, I mean,
the end
it
of the
goes back
second
to the
film,
first film.
the end of the second film is my favorite. Is probably my favorite part in any movie, like almost any movie ever of all time.
Like when
The when Marty is standing in the rain, and then there's this guy who gets out of a car and delivers him a letter
Just
in a
delivers the
suit
letter.
and hat, and it's
Trench
pouring
coat.
rain, and they're
Trench
like,
coat,
"You're
yeah.
Marty McFly," and then it's like the
That-
dog's alive, and he's in
that-
1885.
and then the first one, and Doc's like, yeah, and he's like yelling, and then Marty just comes racing around the corner, and he's like, hey Doc,
Yeah,
and he's like, great Scott,
yeah.
and then he
That's
I
so
think
awesome.
I think the second one, I think the future stuff is great. It is very, very dark though. Just that Marty's dad was fucking murdered. Like Biff was just like fuck, just killed him, and it's like, and I mean it was based on Donald Trump, the Biff Tower and all that, which is like obvious. That's like so obvious. Which is like, hey, films were always political, guys. Look at this Trump
Yeah.
reference in the 80s. Part two, I do prefer it. I think it just, yeah. I mean, they just sort of. We mentioned this before, but actually, one thing we should talk about actually, Crispin Glover isn't in it because he got into a dispute with the creatives. He was like, "I want to be paid as much as Michael J. Fox is," and they're like, "No," because he's not the lead, obviously,
Yeah.
Crispin Glover, and so he didn't do it. And so they used like archival footage of him, and he like sued them because they used footage without his permission. Oh fucking hell! I gotta turn notifications off. Jesus fucking Christ.
Yeah. Yeah.
But he sued the filmmakers because they used archival footage of him, and I don't know where that went. I imagine he didn't win.
I assume
Presuming.
anything that's filmed on a production set is footage of the production team, right? Like when you sign a contract, license whether the footage is in the film or not, it's intellectual property of Universal Studios.
I'd assume so. Yeah, unless he had signed like a contract which said they cannot use footage of me, but I can't imagine he did. So he's not in it. So when we see George, he's upside down because his back fell out. Just it's such a great way of getting around it. Like it's so stupid.
Yeah.
But it is funny how his back got thrown out, so that means he's now upside down. And also, isn't it just great how you can just chuck a pizza in like a hydrator or whatever? You give it like a couple seconds, and boom, you got a pizza.
Which is similar to the microwave, but not really.
Yeah,
They do
also,
get a
like,
lot of things right. The whole like Zoom meetings and like
like
Skype and yeah.
They got a decent amount right, surprisingly. I do. But that scene in Marty's house is so weird when his daughter comes down and it's just played by him in a wig, and I'm like, and I was just watching it and I'm like, I know that's Michael J. Fox, but it really doesn't look like him though. Like they really
I
done a lot of work.
I didn't know at the beginning. I didn't realize until like when I was older, and I was like, that's really well done. To be fair,
yeah, and I do love that his kid just looks exactly. His son looks exactly like him. I'm like, that's
I wonder
just
who that's
easier.
played by.
Yeah. And then Jennifer, who sees her other version, and they both faint. And there was a bit when I was rewatching part two, I was like, when Biff goes back in time in the DeLorean, and he comes out and he's old and he's like sweating and everything, and I'm like, what happened to Biff? Because this is the first time I was like, what happened? And so there's a deleted scene where the DeLorean leaves, and as soon as the DeLorean leaves, Biff fades away because he's altered. The past, and like that's really, really quite unnerving, like and I think it's a great I kind of see why they got rid of it, but I think it would have been nice to leave it in the film.
Have that canonical tie-in with the first film,
and
law.
Part two, Biff is a big perv. I mean, he's always a perv. He's a terrible person. He's got Lorraine. He got her fake tits, which is just feels very like which feels very. It was like
besides killing her husband as well.
Yeah, and killed her husband, and like Marty's brother is in like jail or something,
Yeah,
and
it's
his
just
sister is something I don't know. Um, but yeah, I
that's
and
why I
then
think it's the worst. The whole Biff, like at the end, like I'm just like,
oh, you don't like the stuff with Biff in 1955?
oh no, Biff at the end is fine, but I mean, sorry, I mean like
The
Biff at in like the end of the
1985.
second act, yeah,
Yeah.
like second
I
act
think
Biff,
that's
I'm
probably
like,
the
ugh,
weakest
yeah,
bit of the film. I do love the stuff where Marty goes back, and that part where he gets his hand caught in between the chair and the desk is like so cringeworthy. It's like,
oh
dude,
yeah,
it's
yeah,
and I'm and I just yeah, and Biff just casually looking at like a porno mag or something at school, just like that's very very. And I
yeah,
just remembered Billy Zane's in these movies, which is so
yeah,
weird because this is before he was this was before he was like a big deal. He was in, is it The Phantom he's in? It's like a superhero he played. He was in Titanic, which you haven't seen, but he's in Titanic.
same, but yeah,
What else have I seen Billy Zane in? I definitely feel like I should know him from something else.
he
But yeah,
looks
he's in
like
it.
Mr. Clean.
But I mean, yeah, the second one, and the second one, they shot part two and part three like back to back. Like this is before that was the done thing. This was before Lord of the Rings and stuff. They filmed both from like they shot part two, and as soon as they finished shooting it and they begun editing, they immediately went and shot part three. And so I guess I give part two a 9 out of 10. I really really love it.
It's
I
an
don't.
8, and I'm even gonna say now, the third one's a 9. Like the and I just don't see how you can like. I get the whole 2015 future like coolness of the second one, but the third one is it just seems like pure
I mean, it's just a
like,
western. It's a fun
but
western.
yeah, but that's it. It's like this pureness to it. Like
Mm.
it obviously gets bogged down in time travel, but a time traveling steam engine, how fucking cool is that? Like the the whole him
There's
saying what him saying he's Clint Eastwood, was it?
yeah, he's Clint. Yeah, he's Clint Eastwood. And then
Yeah,
there's like Clint Eastwood Rail or something when he comes back, which is another thing these
yeah.
films do. Like instead of it's Twin Pine Mall originally, but he knocks out one of the
Lone Pine Mall.
it's
Yeah,
Lone Pine and like just so many nice subtle moments.
yeah.
Yeah, part
Which
three. I rewatched it today, and yeah, it's a lot of fun, isn't it? I don't know if it's my favorite western. I haven't seen a lot of westerns, but I don't know. I think there's definitely at least one western I prefer. I think.
yeah, I'm a huge Western guy, so like I've watched like
I
obviously
think I'd
this.
say
I've watched a couple
Hateful
of
Eight
like
is probably my favorite western.
yeah, you've got Hateful Eight. I think Django counts as a
Django,
Western.
yeah,
You've got
is
like you've got all
the
like the
Man with
classic
No Name
Clint East, you got
trilogy,
the Clint Eastwood ones. Um
Unforgiven, yeah,
yeah, like
Westworld.
what is it Good Men Die Hard or something like that?
Mm.
So
There's
I
like
can't remember. Few Good Men or something.
men.
No, what am I thinking of? So my god, it's oh my god. Anyway, um
I'm not familiar with
yeah,
westerns
is
because
that
it's because a lot of them
and
seem.
A Million Ways to Die in the West with Seth MacFarlane. Oh, it's so good. Like I love that film. It's so because it's
Yeah,
so
no. So
dumb.
yeah, part three. I really. Well, first of all, fucking Michael J. Fox's Irish accent. What the fuck is that? That's so
Oh
weird, isn't it?
yeah,
That's
yeah,
so bizarre. It's just like also, isn't it? It's kind of weird that the actor who plays Marty is now playing the husband of the actress who plays his mum. That's a bit. I mean, I guess because they couldn't get Crispin Glover in, which makes sense to be fair. I guess that's
it
like the
was the
next
good.
best thing.
It was the good, the bad, the ugly, which is what I was thinking of.
Good men
Sorry.
die.
I no, I couldn't like I just couldn't like get it in my head. But that's what I
Oh
was
goodness.
thinking of.
Um,
Um
but yeah. They say the word Indians instead of Native Americans. Ooh, that's a bit interesting. And I'm like, I mean, to be fair, I used to call them Indians.
mm,
I I I used to when I was younger, I'd be like, oh, Indians. But I
I
mean,
didn't
Native
even realize
Americans
that
is the
like
proper
yeah, I didn't
term.
even realize that like like a lot of terms were not appropriate nowadays. Like Eskimo, I didn't find out till this. Like I didn't know till a couple of weeks ago that that was not okay to say anymore.
Wait, oh, is it like Inuit or something?
Yeah, it was like native people of the area, and I'm like, I
Oh,
just didn't know
I
because like
thought
it was the
I
same
was
with like as a kid. It's like I just had no clue. Like it really didn't become a
yeah.
thing until I was like a teenager, and then I was
Yeah,
like,
I used to
oh,
say
okay,
midget a
well,
lot. You can't say midget. That's offensive. It's little
yeah,
people is the correct term.
which like makes sense 100%. Like I don't want to offend
Yeah.
anyone. Like if like that's not my goal. That's never my purpose. So I'll happily like conform. I'm not
Mm.
going to be one of these people where it's like, no, they're Indians because they're fucking not. It's America. It's not India. Like,
Yeah,
huh?
they are
It never.
Native Americans. That is what they are. That's what
Yeah.
that group of people are. But
Because
yeah, no, I think yeah, it's just now I've just gone on a tangent about words that aren't appropriate now. Which, to be fair, when you're a kid, you don't really know what's okay and what isn't, and so
yeah, no, you've
you
got
can
no
get away
clue.
with it. But yeah, he goes back in time, and I mean, yeah, his costume is very which, by the way, his clothes in part two, he's got like the lace up boots, would be, and he's got like the like jacket that form
The
fits.
yeah.
Yeah, and he's got that cap which I've seen in like a Zing or like an EB Games, and I'm like, I kind of want to buy that because it's from Back to the Future, and I love Back to the Future. I don't know, but I mean, I think my the poster I have is Enough Love, which it's by the way a great poster. I think the first Back to the Future is like one of the greatest film posters ever, and then part two and three are just the same, just adding characters.
Yeah, I think I love this film a lot because it focuses on Doc and Doc's like
We really
wants,
don't get a lot
needs
of
as
Doc in these films. The first two films really are about Marty and his family, whereas part two is like we don't really see like Marty's relatives. We see Marty a lot, but we see Doc and his relationship with Clara
yeah.
Clayton. Um,
I heard something
who
about it that creating a plot hole as well one time, like about his
which
relationship with
part? Oh yeah,
the
because she's meant to die is the
yeah.
thing. Which I mean, the film does sort of call that out that like is meant to die. That's why the ravine is called Clayton Ravine or something. It's named after her.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, but no,
Clara, yeah,
I
yeah.
think this is the weakest of the trilogy. I still really love it. I just think it is the weakest of the three. I think I don't know. It just feels a bit more. I don't know. I
It
think
doesn't feel in the world nearly as much as the other
the
two.
second one has the gimmick of like going back to events from the first film, which feels like you should save that for the third film in the trilogy, like to tie it all together.
I
Arguably,
don't
like how
know. I don't yeah, yeah, no.
it's
I
like
feel
how
like
Avengers Endgame they go back to all the other movies because it's the end of the saga, but that's
the
a
second
different thing.
one would have been better to be the last one.
Yeah, you. I mean, you'd have
But
to very much rewrite the films a lot because the
every
whole
time I
point of
watch
part three is it's like clearly an ending. Yeah.
for me, the best part of the second one is getting to go. Oh, the third one, yes, like the whole like what Doc Brown's alive. Like, oh, I love
Yeah.
that whole like,
Which,
and
but yeah,
then you
part
get
two sort of ends on a cliffhanger, which I don't really like. I don't like when films do that. It feels kind of like just. But I think it works just about because it still sort of wraps up the plot of the movie. It just has a little sort of nubbin on the end. It's like, oh, by the way, let's make another one. Um,
yeah,
but I think part three is yeah, I think part three is the weakest one. I think just the Western sort of pastiche like setting doesn't work as well. I don't know. I think like this it doesn't feel at like the second one has the whole novel factor, like oh it's going like into the future, and the third was just like oh we're gonna go back to the past again. It's just like we've kind of done this already, but
Yeah, but I
like I
don't
still,
know. It's just something about like I like how it's so sort of it almost exists like you could watch this and have it not even be Back to the Future 3. Like it doesn't have to be Back to the Future. It could literally be any movie. Um,
mm,
but there's just something about like I can't explain it. There's something about this like fun journey they take you on at the end
hmm
of the film where you're just like, yes, yes, we get to mess around in like the past, and like
hmm
really, like it sort of shows like Marty's dependency on Doc and a bunch of other stuff.
yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. There's something about just the adventureness, how it exists almost outside of the two films, although it is tied into both because it's part of the Back to the Future. It is its own separate adventure. It's not
Yeah.
Marty, we need to do this. Marty, we need to do that. It's Doc living his life and Marty just wanting to like because the whole thing is like Doc told Marty not to come meet him at this point in time.
Mhm. Yeah.
He's like, yeah,
I
I'm
I
happy.
think these films really just in general all three films are just fun. Like they're just fun movies with fun shit happening, you know? Like it's a lot of
Yeah,
fun just watching. And I mean, I really think this film sort of works because of the relationship of Doc and Marty. I really think the two of them are just incredibly engaging characters and their
relationship
sort
and
of
then their chemistry is
the chemistry,
fucking
yeah, well, it's great.
undeniable.
And I don't again. It depends if Eric Stoltz worked or not. Maybe that's part of the thing too. Is Eric Stoltz did not work
Yeah,
alongside um fucking Christopher Lloyd and like oh shit we can't get rid of him. Well, we have to get rid of him because fucking um I think just the film really. I think part three. There's the I forget which Clint Eastwood film it is. It's one of his Man with No Name films where he gets shot and he's got the bulletproof vest. Which, by the way, why doesn't the guy just like shoot him again? Like he takes the bulletproof
in
vest
the
off
leg,
and just like,
or
bruh,
yeah,
just
just like
shoot
shoot him
the
in the
head.
leg. You're not
Just,
really recovering. Yeah, the head as well, but I feel like if I don't know how good this guy's aim
and
was.
yeah, and again, it happens at the end of part three. Marty gets shot in the chest. But I think it makes more sense there because we establish Biff as a character who's just not. It's not Biff. It's Tannen.
Yeah,
Buford, Tannen, um,
but the
and
Tannins are all sort of Biff. You know, they're all supposed to
yeah,
be
I mean
like
they're all played
big.
by the same, but yeah, it makes more sense there. I apparently Michael J. Fox nearly died during the production of Part Three because they
They really
actually
shoot
hung
him.
him with
Oh,
the with when he's captured by the noose. Like it was an actual. I'm pretty sure it was an actual noose, and I mean, Brendan Fraser also nearly died because of because of being hung. Because that's
yeah,
health and
that's normal.
safety.
Yeah,
Um, but yeah, I think, and again, the film has a very great sort of final sequence where they're on the train and all this, and of course Doc is just like fuck. He's just like yeah, the timeline. We got to fix this, and then he just screws it up again because he's like he rescues Clara. It's just like you're messing up the timeline,
yeah.
bruh. Which they sort of lose sight of that in the two sequels. The first one is very much like no, we cannot do this, and
It
then
plays
yeah,
by strict rules. The other two are much more loosey goosey with it.
yeah. Again, I feel like we've sort of touched on a lot about touched on a lot of stuff with the first film that sort of connect because they're very connected films, and I think that it sort of once you talk about one of them, you kind of talked about all of them. You know,
Yeah,
they're very
besides the
similar.
third, and that's only because of its like different sense. Like it's basically just like a different
Location, yeah.
location.
Yeah,
Yeah.
set it. Well, it's still Hill Valley, but in the 1880s. Yeah, I
Which is vastly different from like Future Hill, because Future Hill Valley, Present Hill Valley, and 50s Hill Valley all sort of have Hill Valley to it.
they
You
still
can't
look
tell that this
somewhat
one
similar.
is
Like
like,
it's
yeah,
not, but 1885 they've barely built it. You know, they've got like the saloon that Marty
yeah,
goes into, and they've got like the clock tower they're building, and there's like the courthouse and everything, but it's not that much. But yeah, I give part three a 9 out of 10.
yeah. I'd say it averages probably a 9 out of 10 for the whole trilogy, which is really strong going across 3 films.
I think part two and part three being weaker does sort of make the trilogy weaker overall because part two and part three aren't nearly as good.
Yeah, yeah. No, I get that. I have the same thing happening to my voice too. Um, I fully get that. Like it's almost damn near the perfect trilogy if it's not for just a
Yeah,
few indiscrepancies that I think. But I again off the top of my head, I can only think of one other trilogy that I would rate higher than Back to the Future.
Star Wars.
No, it's Spider-Man Sam Raimi. And you can say what you want.
Ah,
A lot of people don't like the third movie. I love it. I don't
dude, the third
love
movie's
it,
so
but I
fun.
love it. It's so good. So, it's a 10 out of yeah. That being said, putting Spider-Man Sam Raimi higher than Back to the Future feels sacrilegious.
Mm.
Um,
Well, if you want to hear more thoughts on Spider-Man, wait for next week. Ooh.
ooh.
Ooh. But yeah, I mean, Back to the Future is a near perfect trilogy. It is fantastic. And I think that's kind of it. I really think we've basically
Yeah.
discussed everything we want. I've certainly said everything I wanted to say. Basically, I just love these films. Like seriously, watch them. If you somehow haven't seen
Or
them, watch them.
also the best aesthetic ever. Like, oh my god, so
Bro,
cool.
that the 80s, like Hill Valley seems like a fairly nice place in most of the timelines we see. You know,
Yeah.
just go to the cafe in the 50s, just of that bit where like in George, he walks in the bar, he's like, Lou, milk, chocolate, and he just slides a glass of milk along, and he takes like a
Yeah.
little sip, and then fucking wipes his mouth. He just wipes his
Yeah.
mouth with it, and I'm like, that
As if
is
it's
like,
beer. I love that.
yeah, it's such great. Again, Crispin Glover is like the best part of the first film. He's great,
Yeah.
and yeah, thank you all for listening to this week's episode. I hope you have enjoyed. Next week, well, I've kind of maybe already said what it is, but it is the beginning of a 2-part retrospective, and Harry will probably be on.
I'll
Maybe
try. Yeah. Yeah.
we'll
I want to
see
be if I can.
because yeah, the film's Harry's got a lot of feelings about part one, mostly good feelings, I think, but part two. Oh, there's going to be some controversial opinions there,
Yeah.
and
Hot takes.
I am very much interested in it because hot takes are fun, and we're going to disagree a lot, so it's great.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, check out all the other episodes. This is like episode 100 and something or other. Last week, Harry was on. We did Guardians of the Galaxy, which I've seen part 3, but well, volume 3 technically, but I won't give my thoughts on that because that'll be for the review of the year, which will be out at the big Guardians of the Galaxy 3. I will discuss at the beginning of next year actually because of how the schedule lines up. So you won't hear my thoughts on it for a while. Harry's done quite a few episodes. We did John Wick about a little over a month ago, which I haven't seen yet, but I will try and see it at some point because everyone says it's really good. Harry and we also did. Um, we've done a lot of Marvels. If you go to the Marvel episodes,
Yeah.
Harry's in like half of them. So just keep that in mind if you want to go listen to those. Because if you want to listen to more Harry, Black Panther we did an episode of my favorite film, Memento, but it was a commentary track where we reacted to it. So sync it up with the movie and then watch it because it's good. And I think that's basically it. Instagram and Facebook and that. Check it out. There is no YouTube page, but Harry may do that potentially. Who knows? Maybe not. I don't know. Just should be available on like most podcast platforms. So just go listen to it again if you want. If you enjoyed it so much, listen elsewhere. And that's pretty much it. So thank you all for listening, and I'll see you all in the next one. Goodbye.